Hello, this is Christy Carter with Global Positive News Network, and I have the honor of introducing to you today a man of multi-talents. He's an amazing person. His name is Cordell Glass, and he is actually a creative well-being coach. He owns the website Upwards Acts, which is an adventure-based positive psychology website where he's also a coach. Again, a multi-talented man. He's a challenge course manager at the University of Colorado Boulder. He's also an article author for Positive Psychology News, and he has his fingers into the corporate team building at Positive Adventures. So, Cordell, that's just an incredible portfolio of things that you do, but it's all positive stuff.
It's very
positive. It's creative. It's fantastic. So welcome to this interview.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I love how creative you are with the cat on your head.
I had to do something. I can't call myself a creative without doing something creative right off the bat.
You're proving it. I love it. That's so fun. Well, from what I've read, your mission is to blend positive coaching and evidence-based practices with exponential or experiential outdoor adventures?
Yes.
Is that how it's said? Okay. Because, prior to the COVID-19, you were leading things outdoors in Colorado. I can see you. What kind of things did you do out of curiosity?
I've done a lot of things. So a lot of the work that I've been doing with groups involves team building and leadership with themes like communication and trust. Mm-hmm. And then I've also been an adventure guide, so leading whitewater rafting and rock climbing and hiking and backpacking. Nice. And mountain biking is one of my favorites. So just kind of getting people outdoors and helping them engage with their natural environment in really healthy ways. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to imbue those activities and a lot of those practices with the research and science coming out of the field of positive psychology and just developmental psychology more broadly. So right now they're two very different worlds, but I've just been so deeply enriched and invested in both of them that I'm tired of them being two different worlds. And so my work is really trying to make a middle ground between those two fields.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Wow. So your mission is to provide people with tools, skills, and insights that empower them to contribute to their own positive development.
Yes.
Wow. We need people like you in the world.
Thank you.
Perfect timing, especially this time during this horrible virus pandemic. It's just incredible. Wow. So why did you enter into the world of positive psychology?
Right. Honestly, it's one of those things of I know people who get PhDs will often say I'm not doing research, I'm doing me-search kind of thing, where their academic interests are really kind of stemming from just personal insight and research. And my story isn't really that different. As far as the positive psychology side of things, I was studying developmental psychology at UCLA, which is mostly focused on childhood development. And I just got really interested in how my childhood worked. And according to the research, I just had so many risk factors that I should probably be in prison or in a gang or something like that, just based on the risk factors involved. But I was at a top tier university, very creative with lots of friends. And I was just flourishing by every definition of the word. And so I started to figure out what were the things that led me to flourish under these circumstances, which are less than ideal. And I came up with the nerdiest psychological model that I could. This wasn't for a class. This was just me at home, I wonder what. And I wrote it all up. And then I went to the research library to see if there's any research supporting the model that I made. And I discovered the entire field of positive psychology.
Wow.
And I was just so fascinated and engaged and enraptured by all of the work being done by Barbara Fredrickson and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and Martin Seligman and all the big names in the field. Yep. And at the time I was still doing team building, facilitation, and outdoor adventure guiding. And what I was noticing was a lot of the people that I was guiding with or doing team building with, they were trained in environmental science or, ecology and things like that. But they weren't trained in developmental psychology and definitely not positive psychology. But it seemed so relevant, so relevant. Totally. But everyone that was trained in positive psychology was doing research and they weren't out there in the with groups of people, like breaking things down and reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from there, I just kind of continued to study positive psychology by going to graduate school and studying under Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and a bunch of other amazing scholars to get my master's
Mm-hmm.
degree. And I've just continued to work in the outdoor education field, and just doing team building, facilitation, and leadership curriculum and things like that. And so I've just been kind of forging those pathways and
Fascinating.
bringing them together as much as I can.
Fascinating. And I'm sure when you're leading like your wilderness tours and things like that, you've probably had repeat clients. And I just wonder if you saw like a progress with, a client that you had for the first time as opposed to the same client after maybe the third time they joined your wilderness adventures
Yeah.
and
So
see a progress in them.
believe it or not, that's really rarely the case. In
Okay.
fact, that's part of why I moved into doing coaching
Okay.
as a creative well-being coach, is
Mm-hmm.
because many of the programs, almost 100% of programs that people do for team building or even adventure guiding,
Mm-hmm.
people do it once and then you really never see them again. If you're
Oh,
lucky, they'll do it once every year.
huh.
So in the team building world, at least the repeat clients that I do have, I see them maybe once a year. And that's
Okay.
even then is pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was really interested in, seeing sustained changes over
Yes.
time. And
Mm-hmm.
anyone that knows anything about personal development, whether it's through therapy or counseling or mastery or expertise, it takes
Mm-hmm.
more than like a day
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
develop skills. And so
Exactly.
that's what really brought me into coaching, is I wanted more concentrated and like longitudinal
Mm-hmm.
interactions with people. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where a lot of my repeat clients have been, is in the coaching space.
That's nice. So
Yeah, and in
before
that space, people are changing all the time, and it's amazing. It's
there
exactly
you
what I
go.
want.
So
It's
that's
really
the
cool.
thing. Wow.
Yeah, to
So
see some of the impacts that a lot of these theories and research and practices actually have
oh,
is like, whoa,
wow. Pretty,
yeah.
don't you think it's pretty simple? I mean, there's more to optimism that meets the eye. I mean,
Hmm.
don't you think it just affects you mind, body, and soul, and it just feels better, and it,
Yeah.
it kind of it radiates to other people. It's kind of like a domino effect, don't you think?
Yeah, I appreciate the way you said, like, it's pretty simple. It's hard because all of these things tied to well-being and mind-body wellness is incredibly complex.
Hmm.
But I see it really in a similar way as you, where it's not complicated. It's
Right.
just, there's a lot to do, but if you just do certain things, you'll get certain outcomes.
Right.
And so that's why the mission statement that you described earlier is, I want to give people the tools
Mm-hmm.
to develop their own well-being, because
Mm-hmm.
if people know what to do, they're just really likely to
Mm-hmm.
do it. So that's why a lot of my coaching and a lot of experiential education is educational. When I'm coaching
Mm-hmm.
people, a lot of coaches are only asking questions and kind of guiding their clients, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love, and I do a lot of that too. But I also love introducing like models and theories and
Okay.
like maps of well-being and like
Wow.
evidence-based practices. So it's like, well, if you want to have more awe or you want to have better relationships, it's not a matter of like, can you do it? It's like, just do these things.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's the simple part that I see, at least.
Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
don't know what those things are unless they like go to graduate school for positive psychology.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I mean, we all have mentors, we all have teachers, we all have coaches and therapists.
mhm.
I mean, we're not solo in this world. We need each other.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
partly why, it's pretty hard for us to all be isolated in our houses at this point. It's
Yeah.
really, it's pretty amazing. So, in that vein, Cordell, what can you tell people who are sitting here at home alone how to stay positive, how to get through this pandemic that we're in right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to diminish how difficult all of this entire situation is. I'm aware that this is
Yeah.
one of the most difficult things our entire planet has gone through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, going back to the optimism thing, I guess
Mm-hmm.
this is some really cool opportunities for a lot of people. And I kind of see two main roads of opening up opportunities. One of them is this isolation provides opportunity for reflection and kind of investing in self-care and self-love and building a relationship with yourself. I
Yeah.
wish I could convey just how vital that is for well-being and relationships with other people.
Right.
Like, the more you have self-acceptance and self-compassion and just
Yep.
love yourself, the easier it is to be loved and to give love to other people and to just
Mm-hmm.
thrive in a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of different ways. And so now having to be alone with yourself sounds kind of scary, but you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of take that time to just appreciate yourself and just
Yeah.
be in your own presence.
Yeah.
I can talk about that forever. I don't want to go too far in a tangent, but that's one space of just like
Yeah.
deepening your relationship with yourself. And the other space, the craziest thing to me, I should know this by now, but it's crazy to me that everyone's like, man, nobody can work. Like, we've got all this extra time. We're all so bored.
Right.
That's insane.
Wow.
I've been bored since I was like 7.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much to do. And I know that has a lot to do with
No.
my culture and my context and my personality, but I see all of this isolation as an opportunity to invest in some creative, intrinsically motivating things that make you curious and creative, right? So like that's one of the main benefits that I see of this is I'm in a lot of music producer communities because I make music. And so many people have like tours canceled and shows. I've had some shows that were canceled and clubs are kind of shut down.
Yeah.
But the time and the space to create right now seems more abundant than ever, right? And you've got all these excuses like I can't go anywhere, I can't go to work, right? So like I understand like I feel like it's possible that there might be like a small artistic renaissance that comes out of this time.
Ooh, I like that.
And just the cultural zeitgeist and also just all this free time. Don't get lost in fear and despair. I think people are going to really open up just so many new creative avenues and expressions. And so more creative expression and more self-relationships could be the biggest benefits that come out of this. And both of those just depend on how people spend their time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is I like the Renaissance. It's like an art renaissance because we do have the time. I know I'm a lot more calm at this point because I'm not running around. I'm not in my car. I'm not on an airplane. We're not running around with all that chatter going, and it just gives you more time of reflection, like you were saying, and just more time. It's just like everybody used to complain about, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that, or what have you. Well, now you do. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Now you do have the time to create that music piece or to do that art that you've been wanting to do or write that book.
Absolutely.
And
I think what's interesting though is all of these things we're talking about are still, they take a lot of effort. And people kind of see like, oh, I'm sitting at home, like I can't do anything effortful. But all the things that I was just mentioning of like really diving into a creative art or a hobby or just self-care and self-love, it's not easy. Like it's still kind of like, going to be taxing in certain ways, but the benefits are outrageous. Like I can't understate how much your life could change if you have like a really in-depth creative passion and a really close relationship with yourself and self-understanding and acceptance. It's pretty hard to not flourish when those things are present.
You're so right. And I kind of like the idea, but what you said, it still seems hard for people to do these things. But I think the hard part, my own theory, and check it out with me, that because it's unknown. And when we venture our minds into the unknown, it seems hard. And it seems like the journey takes a long time. But if we do something that we have done every day repetitively, it's easy, right?
Absolutely.
So do you want to speak to that mindset and how to get past that hard part?
Sure. Yeah, I've been, you mentioned I write for PositivePsychologyNews.com, and I mostly write about just like positive psychology and eco-psychology and transpersonal psychology and these different aspects. And an article I'm working on right now is kind of an extension of Csikszentmihalyi's work on optimal experience, which I'm sure a lot of these viewers are familiar with, like flow states and getting into flow. It's called optimal experience for a reason, and we don't have time to get deep into that here right now, but basically just like deep flow states, being in the zone, incredibly engaged. The one thing that thwarts that is distraction. Right? And that's where the most creative work kind of comes from. And what I'm writing about right now is how being mindfully present can also be considered an optimal experience. At least in that theory, it's like relevant and helpful, but it's not considered optimal experience. Only flow states are. I'd like to reframe that as, if you're in a flow state, it's an optimal experience, but if you're being mindfully present in the current moment, that's also optimal in a lot of ways. And the one way to thwart that state or those experiences are distraction as well. And that's also the avenue towards self-acceptance and self-love, right? So really distractions are the things that take us out of getting deeply creatively engaged and being deeply present with ourselves. And so now that all these distractions are gone, the only thing left to do are kind of like fall into like, addictions or things that you can continue to get distracted by,
Right.
or you have to just open up to the present moment and then engage with it. Those are kind of the only options that I really see, at least from my perspective.
Okay.
And one is a lot easier than the other for sure.
Yeah.
But if you've got that motivation and that support and just the awareness that these are options, right?
Yes.
And kind of benefits, that's where I see a lot of my work is just helping people recognize, like, of course you can sit at home and like, be bored or like binge watch TV or do, recreational drugs, but there's other options, right? If people fully understood how many options there are for enhancing well-being, it would be a lot easier to make healthy choices than if it's like, well, I don't know what else to do. Those are the most tragic cases to me, is people that are interested in positive development but don't have the tools or the means.
Or a coach like you. I mean, if they can go to your website, and that is upwardsacts.com, they can get some information about what's going on and contact you, and you can help people like that.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of the work that I'm working on right now. So I've been putting together an email course that's currently being beta tested, which is you get an email every day or 2 days that is just laying out the foundations of creative well-being. So you just learn about all these different topics like mindfulness and aspects of relationships and resilience and meaning and purpose, and you get like the base layer. And I'm also working on putting out a podcast soon. I've already finished the first season, and I'm working on a second season where I interview people that use positive psychology in their day-to-day life. So I'm taking notes on what you're doing.
Perfect. We're learning from each other.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. And I've recently put together a book list that, I might just post that today. I haven't posted it yet. But yeah, I put together a book list of over 50 books that I would personally recommend for different topics of well-being and positive psychology, with like a little blurb on why I recommend it. And so and all of this stuff is completely free. So I'm really just trying to be a beacon of content for understanding your own well-being.
That is fabulous.
Absolutely, yeah. So
do I kind of hear and sense maybe a book of your own that you might be writing?
I've thought about it for a long time. I kind of see that as like a lot further down the road right now.
And that's okay.
My hands feel full with these articles that I've been writing. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on the articles that I have written in my own writing style, and I do enjoy it a lot. So I think it's certainly within the cards, but I don't really know what it would be yet. I don't know. I'm interested. We'll see where it goes. But
so I'm sure everybody here has noticed that you have a cat on your head.
I do have a cat on my head.
And we love that cat. What's the cat's name?
This cat's name is Shania.
Shania.
We've been together for years and years and years.
Very cool.
I'm extremely allergic to cats and dogs and animals with fur. So this one just has the ability to get closer to me than any cat can.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love that. That's so fun. Wow. So, Cordell, what have you done? What impact have you made in your community in the last 6 months?
Right. I was hesitant to talk about that email course because I knew you were going to ask this question. And that's like the biggest thing that I've been doing is I've been, like I said, beta testing before I kind of release this email course out to everybody just to make sure I don't have like terrible typos or I'm not like incoherently rambling.
Right.
But I'm really excited to release it to everyone because the feedback that I've gotten so far has been like very specific, which is cool. Because I feel like a lot of kind of self-development content is like, yeah, I thought that was really cool and inspiring, which is great. But I've been getting feedback like, yeah, I thought that was really cool and inspiring. And I used it to talk to this person at work. And I used this part of the email that made this conversation so much easier. You know what I mean? Like those kind of specifics. And yeah, it's really interesting to like have an idea turned into a thing and then have that thing actually impact people. It's like a reminder, like, oh yeah, that's why I've been working on this. You know
Isn't that amazing? So,
yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I've done recently.
Well, it's very empowering for yourself and for your viewers and for your people that you coach. I mean, that's huge. Yeah. That's why we're here. I think we are here for a purpose, and your purpose is just fantastic. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
Of course, I appreciate it.
So, Cordell, what positive news do you have for our viewers today?
Yeah, I think just news in general. Like I said, I've been kind of keeping my ear to the ground in a lot of music communities, and I know there's a lot of crazy art that's coming out now. That's why I had that theory earlier that there's a chance for a renaissance.
Wow.
Because I I know renaissances historically take place during times of abundance and like social cultural flourishing. So it might be kind of tough, but I think there's like a really good likelihood that we're going to get some incredible art coming out of this in like every industry, like films and music and painting and dance, just because I think that's one of the most resilient ways humans deal with tragedy. And we still have a lot of resources at our disposal. So I think that's one thing we can look forward to is that there's going to be some really great stuff coming out.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Well, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate you being here today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. We should keep in touch. Maybe I'll have you on the podcast sometime if you're interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to be having my own podcast as well. So we can, share stuff. Yeah.
There we go. Crossover episodes.
Yeah. And I'm an adventure person also. Me and my husband, we scuba dive, we hike all over the world and do stuff like that. We just did whitewater rafting for the first time on the Road River.
Go. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm hoping to get some whitewater rafting in this summer. Oh, man.
It's awesome. So, when things clear up, we're going to come out and do a tour with you or something.
Let's go. I've got some mountaintops with your name on it.
Awesome. So I want to urge our viewers at Global Positive News Network to go to Cordell's website, which is upwardsacts.com, and take a look around. You can see what he's up to, and you can connect with him and, just read his articles. He has a tremendous amount of positive information about how we can develop ourselves in a more positive way. So, Cordell, thank you again for this interview, and we'll be talking to you again soon.
Awesome. Sounds great.
All right. Thank you.